What is up? Daniel here with the Virtual Robotics Studio. We are back. We have all of our cut Lexan. It's time to now drill the holes we need to prepare it for assembly. But of course, before we start working, we got to give a special thanks to Argosy for making this all possible, to First and Andymark for parts and support, and also a thanks to Team 302, Lake Orion High School, for hosting our studio. All right, we have all the pieces cut. I've got my drawings here for all of our different plastic pieces. Now the good news is, if you find 25020, that doesn't need any holes, so we're done with that piece. Next up, 25021 also needs no holes. Now, one of the reasons why we want to make sure these are labeled, if you take a look at KB 25021 and KB 25012, they are very, very close to the same size. So if you remember, one of them should be 18 by 18, but we made it 18 by 18 and a quarter. We left it just that extra quarter of an inch long. The other one is 18 by 18 and a quarter. So that one is just slightly longer. Okay, the one that's slightly bigger, that's the one we need to drill holes in. The other one, we're done with. That's good to go. Next. This is KB 25010, the track floor. That is the biggest piece. If you remember, I kept saying, okay, we're going to drill these holes through Lexan. They're going to line up and they're going to match. So I'm actually not going to pre-drill these holes because it's going to be easy. When we peel this plastic away, we're going to be able to see the hole through it. We're going to just be able to put the drill right on top and drill in when we go to assemble. So this piece for me is done. If you do want to go ahead and drill, you can. The markings are there. It is 1/2 inch in from the edge, and then we have a bunch of holes at a bunch of different lengths. I think it's going to be easier to just do this in assembly when we're putting the whole thing together. So we have 25012, and we have our KB 25011. Those three pieces, well, two of the one kind and one of the other, are the ones that we want to drill our holes in. And small curveball for this one. I guess let's start with 25012. 25012. So that one is our track roof. That one has 4 holes. Remember, it's square, so it doesn't really matter which side we put the holes on. But we're going to have 4 holes on opposite sides. So 4 holes on this side, 4 holes on this side, or it's square, so it could be 4 holes on those sides, whatever. But small difference here. We're going to drill these holes a little bit bigger. So these holes are going to eventually be used to hold the roof on, but it's going to be held on with zip ties. And so it's a little bit easier. You could drill if you only have the .201 drill bit. That's okay. You can drill with that. The zip ties could fit through that. They're a little tight. The recommendation on the drawing is to drill with .25 or a 1/4 inch drill bit. So that's what we're going to use here. Go ahead and put that in the drill. Okay. And then let's get our piece marked up, and then we can just drill those holes. Now, because this is so thin, you could take this over to your drill press and you can drill with the drill press, and that's fine. But we're drilling through .125, about 1/8 of an inch of material. I think this is actually .118, technically, inches thick. So it's going to be fine. Even if you're a little bit crooked, since the hole is so short, it's not going to have a big impact on things. All right, so let's pick our sides. I think, let's just see if it's pretty close to 18 1/4. This way is pretty close to 18 1/4. Doesn't matter. Looks about the same to me. If you have a difference, I would say that the slightly wider side is the side that you want to drill the holes on. So if this was 18 1/4 this way, and this way was only 18 and maybe you were a 1/16 short, I would go this way to drill the holes. But mine's about the same, so I'm going to do a line of holes on this side and a line of holes on this side. And these holes are going to line up with the holes that we are drilling in these pieces. But because they're held together by zip ties, our tolerance for them to still work is very, very big. The holes can miss by quite a bit. So we're not going to worry about any of the super, super precise techniques that we were using before. Instead, let's go ahead and just start marking our areas. So I will want calipers, though, just because 1/2 inch from the edge is so much easier with calipers. All right, so the first thing that we're going to do is, if I kind of get my tape measure across the bottom like this, and And we can look on the calipers for about a half an inch. About a half an inch is going to be, all right, there, about that area. Okay. So the first hole is going to be going up from the 0. The first hole is going to be at 1.63 inches. That's probably actually 1.625 or 1 5/8. So 1 inch and 6/2. So we're going to do a half plus an eighth. So we know this is going to be somewhere in this neighborhood. So I'll kind of mark it up a little bit. Next one is going to be, do all the Sharpie on this side, and then we'll drop it. 6.63. So that's 6 5/8. So that is right around this spot here. And then next one is 11 5/8, 11.63 or 625. So 11 5/8 is going to be right around here. And then 16 5/8, 16, and we're going to be right around here. All right, looks good. That one didn't like color in super nicely, but that's fine. All right. So we have all of those positions marked. Now I'm going to go back, set my calipers to half an inch, 0.5-ish. And I'm just going to go in and right in the area, I'm not going to scribe across the whole thing, but right in the area where my Sharpie marks are, I'm just going to go ahead and give a quick scratch. And you probably don't even necessarily need the Sharpie. I was hoping that would make it show up a little bit better on the camera. But when you scratch away the plastic coating, it's pretty obvious where your marks are going to be. All right, so we've got some scratches going. Then I'm just going to go straight to my snap punch. And I'm going to measure out to those numbers. So the first one was 1 5/8. 1 5/8 is 1 1/2 plus an eighth. And I'm just going to put the snap punch right on that point and go. All right, next, 6 5/8. So we'll get the snap punch right on that line. And go. Then the next one was 11 5/8. 11 5/8 right here. And then the last one is 16 5/8. So it'll be 16 1/2 plus an eighth. Right, it slipped. Right there. Slipped, but it left a mark. Okay. So those are 4 holes we have to drill on this side. Then what we're going to do is spin it around, and we're going to make the same marks. But remember, our 0 is always on the same side. So I measured from this edge, and if I spin it around, that's now this edge. So in fact, just to make it obvious, this arrow is pointing towards that is 0. So when I spin it around, I got to measure from the other side. All right, and we're going to do the exact same thing. So get the Sharpie out. We started our 0. Wait, I have to measure from 0, which is this side. There we go. I just got finished saying it and didn't even do it. All right. So the first one was 1 5/8. So we're going to be like here. Next is 6 5/8. And then 11 5/8. And then 16, right? 16 5/8. 16 5/8. Well, that is, okay, we got some ink there. All right, next, calipers at 0.5. Really don't know why I closed them. Should have thought ahead. All right, 0.5. Scribe through each of our Sharpied areas. Looks good. Okay, I just closed it again. We're going to wait and find out if we need it at 0.5 next again. All right. First one, 1 5/8. We'll just go right on the line, right at 1 5/8, and snap. 6 5/8. Again. $11 5/8. Snap punch there, and then 16 5/8. And we snap punch there. And we can check them. Looks good to me. All right. So we are ready to go. Now, there is one more problem, and that is, especially as we go up in drill bit size, this 1/4" drill bit, it's really hard to actually find that hole that we snap punched. And to make matters worse, because the plastic is so soft, when we start drilling into the plastic, it is going to bite anywhere and drill through. So we have to be a little bit careful that we do something to pilot those holes. So again, I'm going to go back to the bin and this time I'm going to use a 1/8 drill bit. And let's put that in first. So I'm going to go ahead and drill all of these holes to 1/8, and then we'll do 1/4. And the 1/8 hole will help line up the 1/4" hole. Otherwise, it's easy to kind of walk and end up with these holes being all over the place. All right. So let's see. We need safety glasses. Let's clamp this down. I'm going to clamp it to the holes I'm drilling are just off the edge of the table. You want to be close, but not anywhere where you have a chance of drilling into the table. But close is good support, because if you're way far out, right, if I'm way far out here, then when I try to drill, the whole thing's going to bend, which is going to make it harder to stay precise. So we'll get close there. Enough room for a 1/4" hole comfortably. And then same thing on this side. That seems pretty good. All right. And we'll go through and we'll do our small 1/8 drill bit, get it seated nicely on each of the snap punches, and just drill straight through. And it helps too, I find it helps, I hold the drill bit itself and kind of, wiggle it around until you feel it kind of catch in the snap punch. And we just keep going. All right, and I guess I'll switch drill bits, and then we'll flip it around and do the other side. So now we're up to the 1/4" drill bit, 0.25 inches. So this is the final size once we get this drilled in. And what you'll notice too is now that hole is big enough that it definitely finds it. It definitely centers on it. So we'll line that up, drill straight through. And again, do your best to drill straight, but it's so small that even if it's a little crooked, it's not a big deal. That is something to watch out for. If you saw that, sort of like it grabs and it's pulling the drill down, the plastic will do that too. It's sort of like cutting and digging in as it goes. So just be aware. You can go to a little bit of a higher speed, and definitely don't push down super hard. And it should break out, and if you have to run it as you pull it out, that's not bad, just to kind of open those holes up. All right, we've got our 5 holes here. We'll drill the other side, and then we'll deburr everything all at once. Let's flip this around, and we're just going to clamp it the same way, just a little bit off the edge of the piece, or off the edge of the table so we can drill, but be supported. Looks good. And we're going to switch back down to the smaller size drill bit, our 1/8 drill bit. Okay, that looks good, and let's do it. So get it nestled in again. And looks good. Okay, and then switch back up to the 1/4" drill bit here. Again, every time I put a drill bit in, I do give it a little bit of an extra twist just to make sure there's no aluminum shavings, plastic shavings up in the way. All right, and now we can open it up to our 1/4" hole. Okay, let's pop this free. And only thing we have left to do is deburr all 8 of these holes. So let's get them done. And this is plastic too, so it cuts even easier than when we were doing this with aluminum. So it should take even less whirling around to get where we want to go. All right, I'll do the whole side first, and then I'll flip it over and do the whole other side. It's like good, feels good. Feels good. Flip it over. 8 more. Cool, 4 more. And KB 25012 is done and ready for assembly. Which means the only thing we have left is KB 25011. This has got a couple of different things that we're going to do to it. The first thing is across the top, there's going to be 4 holes, and those 4 holes are going to be exactly the same as the 4 holes we just drilled here. So we're going to end up doing basically those 4 holes again, but they will line up in a different spot on this plate. So the side walls go farther than the top, so there's room to drop the coral piece in, the PVC pipe in, without getting hit by the roof. The KB 25012, yes, is our roof. So we'll have 4 of the kind of similar 1/4-inch holes that we'll do with the same process we just did. And then on the other side, we're going to have, in theory, on the drawing, there are 3 .201 holes, number 7, drill bit sized holes. And those 3 holes are supposed to line up with 3 holes that we did on one of our aluminum bars earlier. And for me, again, because I can see through this, if I wait and I drill those holes when it's attached to the frame or to that metal bar, I know the holes are going to line up, and it's going to be just a little bit easier and less stressful for me. But in order to know the positioning of this piece, like left and right, if we drill the first hole on here to the measurement, then we can go ahead and bolt or rivet that in, and then we'll level the plastic, clamp it, and then we can just hit the other 2 holes right afterwards. So we're going to do 1 hole on the bottom, and then the 3 holes across, or the 4 holes across the top. Since we're kind of already set up doing the 1/4-inch holes, let's go ahead and now let's do the bottom one first, because I like to start with the small numbers. So we're going to pick our origin on our piece again. So that basically means that like this and this are 0. Those are our zeros. So this corner basically is our 0th corner. And from that corner, we're going to go in 1/2 inch. So it's up from the bottom 1/2 inch and in from the edge 0.38, which is probably 3/75 or 3/8 of an inch. Which means, remember when I was like, I should have left it at 1/2 inch, and then I did it again, and then I did it again, and then I did it again? Well, set it back to 1/2 inch. There we go. And we can sort of see where that's going to end up. So 1/2 inch is about here, 3/8 is a little bit less. So if I just kind of color that whole area in, it's going to be somewhere around there. And then I'll scribe the 1/2 inch from the bottom. So the bottom is the long side, right? I'm going to scribe up from the long side. Then we're going to go in from the short side, and that's going to be 3. You can set your calipers to 0.38. Again, I think it's actually probably 0.375 is 3/8. So it's probably actually 0.375, but rounded up to 3/8. So anywhere around there is fine and is going to work. And then scribe that from the side. Where they cross, that is where we are going to add our snap punch. Looks good. All right, and yeah, let's do the top 2 while we're at it. So the top holes from the bottom are going to be 5.75 inches up. So actually, if you set your caliper now to 5.75, if you have a 6-inch caliper, if you don't, if your calipers don't go that far, or you don't have calipers, then of course you can use a ruler or you can use the tape measure. to get these marks. Okay, 5.74, 7505. That's close. 7500 as I tighten it. Perfect. All right. And we can see our other dimensions is going to be 2.88. So again, I think it's 875, 7.88, 12.88, and 17.88. So we know, it's basically going to be towards the top of the piece. You might want to check too if your piece is significantly shorter than 6 inches. Mine is pretty much exactly 6 inches. You might have to be careful. You just got to make sure that your 1/4 inch hole doesn't, break through the top wall. And we'll kind of know that as we go through here. So let's get our marking done. I guess this marker wrote better on the plastic, so we'll use that. And the tape measure. All right, so we are going to then mark it out. Again, my 0 is still on this side, so I know I'm marking for my 0 side. And the first one is going to be 2.875 from the edge. So 2.875. So 2 and, let's see, 875 is 7/8. So it's going to be 1/8 less than 3. So we're going to be right around this area here. And then next is, what is next? 7.88, or 7 and 7/8. So 1/8 before 8. Okay, and then our next one is going to be 12.88. So just 1/8 under 13. Color that in. And then finally, we said 16, I think. No, 17. 17.88, or 1/8 under 18. So that's going to be right around here. All right, so we have the 4 patches. I'm going to go ahead and scribe my line with the calipers so I get that direction. There's 1. There's 2. 3 and 4. All right, and we can sort of check. So that should be 1/4 inch off the top edge of the plate. If we're 6 inches, yeah, okay, I'm sold. It all makes sense. Everything feels like it's in the right spot. So now we're once again going to go back through and get our snap punches in. So back to the tape measure. And if I kind of keep the tape measure right close to those lines, then we can go through and line up at 2 and 7/8 and snap punch right on the line we scribed. Next one was 7 and 7/8. So once again, we go right on the scribe line, the snap punch right there. Then it was 12 and 7/8, so 1/8 under 13 right on the scribe line. And then finally 17 and 7/8 right there. Okay, we're marked out on one of them. Now, if your 2 pieces are very, very similar in size, you could take both of them and clamp them together and drill the hole through both plates at the same time. Mine are, there's a small difference in length here on mine. So I'm going to go ahead and do it separately. You know what? I'm going to do it together. What the heck? Let's save ourselves some work. So what we need to do is we need to make sure that this edge and this edge are always nice and flat. So I'm going to grab the square here and just sort of line up that edge. And then same thing on this one as we go in here. And even just feeling with your fingers, you can probably get it very close to lined up. And what I think we should do is I think we should probably clamp this, and then we can have the clamps hanging off the end of the table while we drill around it on the corner. That way it won't move on us. So let's grab a couple of clamps here. This drawer. All right. All right, so once again, I'm gonna make sure that we are nice and flat on this edge. That feels good, and we'll clamp it together. And I was also checking the other edge, and it feels pretty flat as well. Yep, that does seem good. So we'll go ahead and clamp on that edge as well. Kind of slide it over here. All right. So now they shouldn't move on us. We're ready to start drilling. So let's clamp this down. Again, I'm going to drill this hole first, so let me get that as close as I can to the edge of the table here. And get a clamp on it. That is probably not going to move, but we could do a second one just in case. Okay, and for all of the holes, we're going to do the tiny 1/8 drill bit first, just to make sure that we have our hole centered. And then for this first hole, we're going to then go up to number 7, or 0.201. And then for the other 4 holes across the top, we're going to be doing that 1/4 inch drill bit afterwards. So let's get the one weird one done first. Our one lonely hole down here in the corner. Line it up and drill through both. Very good. Switching now to the number 7 drill bit. This is 0.201. And again, make sure it's sitting nice and concentric, nice and even in there. And we'll line that up, and we'll go right through. That looks good. All right. Back down, changing drill bits again to our 1/8 size. And this time we'll see if we can do all 4 before we have to redo it. Well, we'll see, because our other clamps are kind of in the way too. So we'll flip this around. All right, we can definitely do 2 at a time. So that's what we'll aim for here. So I can get a clamp right here, and another one, say over here. So I can get to these 2 holes. So we'll do 2 1/8 and then 2 1/4, and then we'll do the same alignment on the other side. So with that 1/8 drill bit, we'll line it up. Make sure it gets into the snap punch. Same thing over here. Switch it to the 1/4 inch drill bit. And there we go. Seems good. And we'll open both of those holes up. All right, switch back. It's the 1/8 drill bit. That one I saw a piece of plastic on it, and I just want to make sure it wasn't going to get stuck inside. All right, let's adjust our piece now. Bring it over so we are dealing with the other 2 holes. And reclamp those up. That'll do. Okay. Drill again. And the other one. And once again, switching drill bits. This is where you need 2 drills, one with the 1/8 drill bit and one with the 1/4 drill bit, and then you can just pick up the other drill. All right, we're in. Last 2 holes. Line it up. And there we go. All right, we'll unclamp this. And I'm just double checking. My corner that's supposed to be 0 still feels nice and flat. Everything still feels nice and lined up there. So I'm happy that it didn't shift. We can now take our C-clamps off. And again, if you don't want to do it 2 at the same time, or you don't have the pieces to do that, obviously just mark the first one, rewind the video, do the same thing for the other one, or have 2 students with the tools, marking 2 at once. All right, now we just got to clean these holes, deburr. Okay, remember the top set of holes are bigger. Those are our 1/4 inch holes, and the bottom one is that 0.201. If you accidentally made the bottom hole 1/4 inch, I hope not, but you could probably fix that by these holes on the top are centered. You can see the gap on this edge is basically the same as the gap on this edge. So in theory, instead of using the hole in this corner, you could drill again in this corner and have everything work out. We would lose our 0, pieces wouldn't quite be lined up as much as we would want them to be, but that's okay for this piece. The way that it attaches, I think it's still going to work. So if you did make that mistake, you could try to fix it that way. But we are good. We just need to deburr the rest of these holes. Okay, last one. All right, and that means now our KB 25011s, our track side panels, are also done and ready for assembly. I think that means that almost all of the pieces that we have to actually cut or manufacture are done. The only exception to that is I think we still might have to do spacers. So there's some spacers when we go to assemble stuff that are either cut PVC, or you can use 3D printed parts or buy a bunch of pre-made spacers and put them in. So we might have to cut those still, but for the most part, we're done manufacturing, and it's just about buttoning stuff up, putting it together, bolting it together, riveting it together, whatever you choose to use. So that will be started in the next video. I'll see you there, but before we go, another special thanks to Argosy for making this all possible, to First and Andymark for parts and support, and to our hosts here, Team 302, Lake Orion High School.